Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. It is my pleasure to welcome everybody to the March 21st, 2024 open meeting of the Guelph Police Services Board. At this point, I'd like to start. As we gather, let us take time to reflect on our privilege to live and work in Guelph, a city built over rich Indigenous histories. We are guests here, and we should reflect upon the responsibility to care for this land, the people who live here today, and the generations to come. If our actions today can move us toward reconciliation, we should take pause and make those decisions with intention and gratitude. This place we call Guelph has served as the traditional lands and a place of refuge for many peoples over time, but more specifically, the Atiwandaronk and the Haudenosaunee. This land is held as the treaty lands and territory with the Mississaugas of the First Nation. Guelph lies directly adjacent to the Haldimand Tract and is part of the long-established traditional hunting grounds for the Six Nations of the Grand River. Many First Nations, Inuit, Métis peoples who have come from across Turtle Island call Guelph home today. Okay, so my first item is to ask if there are any declarations of conflict or pecuniary interest. Hearing none, I will declare that item closed. And the next item is the community account. Ms. or Vice Chair Armstrong, I understand you have a motion.
Yes, I would like to move the approval of payment of $1,000 from the community account and the payment of $5,000 from the community, to Torchlight Services, and $5,000 from the community account to the Guelph Neighborhood Support Group.
Okay, do I have a seconder? Mayor Guthrie, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Next item is the approval of the minutes of the open meeting of February 15th, 2024. Do I have a mover? Mayor Guthrie, seconder, Vice Chair Armstrong, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Our next item is a mover and a seconder to approve our agenda. Now, just so before we approve this, if any board member wishes to pull any of the items out of the consent for discussion, that can be. This is an appropriate time to do this prior to moving. So do I have a motion to approve the agenda as is? Moved by Councillor Alt, seconded by Mayor Guthrie. In favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay. Chief Kobe, if I can call upon you for the Chief's monthly report.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I wanted to start our my update this month by advising the board and the community that last week, March 14th, marked the 11th anniversary of the tragic line of duty death of Constable Jennifer Kovac. And I think it's important that we always remember that Jennifer, we honor her service, her sacrifice, and acknowledge, in addition to being a police officer, Jennifer was a daughter, a friend, and a passionate community volunteer who touched many in our city. Her legacy of service and sacrifice will always be remembered. And with your permission, Mr. Chair, I just ask that we take a moment of silence.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for that. I wanted to give the board and the community an update on a few of the initiatives that we've begun implementing. We talked a lot last fall about how we can start the process of transitioning from a very reactionary posture in many circumstances to a more proactive ability to support our citizens. And we're very happy, obviously, with your support, with council's support. We're already starting to implement some of those things. And before I get to a couple of those highlights, I really want to encourage our citizens that we want to hear from our citizens. So, because I often attend different public events, and I sometimes have people, they talk to me about things, and often a thing I hear is, well, I would have called the police, but I didn't want to bother you, or those types of things. And what we really, really want our citizens to know is we are here 24/7, 365 days a year to be contacted. When in doubt, call us, whether it be 911 in an emergency, 519-824-1212 in a non-emergency, Crime Stoppers. There's other ways to contact us through our website. We really, really want the community to know we exist to serve them and earn their trust. And please know that we want to be contacted with respect to any concerns. These concerns often include a multitude of things, ranging from traffic and or noise concerns up to the most serious incidents involving drugs, weapons, human trafficking, and other actions motivated by hate or bias in our city. When in doubt, please know we are here and committed to supporting our citizens 24/7, 365, whether it be to share information, to advise us of a concern. It really is important to us that our community know that we're there to receive those calls. One of the key areas, and I know that we've already seen quite a bit of work being done, but as part of our multi-year budget last fall, we made a commitment to increase the support provided to the downtown by supporting an additional community resource officer and sponsoring a full-time CMHA clinician, mental health clinician in our downtown. I'm very happy to advise that we've already completed that process and have staffed these important roles. Constable Mark O'Connell, who I believe our whole city, probably certainly our downtown, knows Mark, and Miss Kim Ketcher, who is one of our founding members of our impact team, are now actively working in the downtown. We've already been receiving a lot of positive feedback, and I know Mark and Kim look forward, along with Connor, to having lots of positive, proactive interactions with our citizens. We really are, we're committed to supporting our thriving downtown and want to work to make sure the best environment for all those who live, visit, and work in our downtown. So I just want to stop there in case anybody has any questions or anything in relation to that CMHA partnership or any of the work being done downtown. Okay. Also, we wanted to thank our community for their participation. We recently held a community information consultation session in relation to our Community Safety and Operations Center that we're working to implement. And we're grateful for the feedback, both from our community members who attended, as well as our media partners who came and then could share that story with the members of our community who weren't there. In addition to onboarding, trying to have, for example, some video feeds from the downtown, we're also implementing a new call management strategy within our Community Safety Operations Center to kind of have a more timely and effective response for calls for service. So members, our community members, have ready access to our members at all times. So, and I'll stop there in relation to the CSOC Community Safety Center, see if anybody has any questions in relation to that. It's also important to note we're really grateful to our city partners, including DCO Clack, Doug Godfrey. We've been working closely with the city and to have those discussions, and we look forward to kind of onboard operationalizing that center in the coming weeks. I'll stop there. I'll take a breath just in case anybody has any questions. Okay. Next, I wanted to speak about, probably, I know the board probably has, but for members of the community, you probably saw a media release last week as the results of a very complex investigation, which resulted in the seizure of 6 handguns, 2 rifles, and over $5 million worth of drugs in our city. This also included over 4 kilograms of fentanyl. And I think it's important to acknowledge the work done by our members. These kind of investigations, they're difficult, they're dangerous, they take a long time. Members are away from home for a long time. Executing the projects are difficult. So both for our members and their families, it's important we acknowledge and thank them for that. So I wanted to publicly thank everyone involved in that for all the hard work. I also wanted to give the community an update. Sorry, Mr. Mayor, I just lost you. Can you still see me? My screen just went blank. Can you see me? Yes?
Yes, I can see you.
Yeah,
Yes.
I can.
Hey, sorry.
Yeah, I can.
I just lost
Yeah.
everything there for a second. I wanted to also give our community, because it's important we recognize the success of that project, but I also think we need to be mindful of the trends that we're experiencing. And I wanted to really thank the board for all your support. An investigation like this, seizures like this, even a short time ago, would have been unheard of. Those amounts of weapons or drugs in our community. For example, and we talked about this a few months ago, but we're now regularly seizing illegal handguns in our city. So approximately 12 weeks into the year, 14 firearms have been seized where charges were laid. 11 of those were handguns. So that's 12 weeks into the year. Our members have seized over $5 million worth of drugs this year. This would have been unheard of. And I think it's important when our community members see headlines like this, I think it's important that they know that we are working very hard, obviously with the board, but implementing all the things we talked about to be mindful of these trends. And I guess where I'm going with this, we need to acknowledge the success of that project, but not lose sight of what that means that we're dealing with. So we will continue to implement the investments, the programs. Last year, 2023, saw the largest number of homicides. There were 5 homicides in the city of Guelph last year. That too is unheard of. I'm looking at Deputy Gill, who's been here for 20 plus years. We typically on average over the last 10 or 15 years, probably used to average approximately 1 homicide a year in our city. Some there were 2, many there were none. Steve, give me a thumbs up. I'm on the right track there. You've been here a long time. We had 5 homicides in our city last year. So these are the types of things and why we are so grateful for your support. These are the reasons why we're trying to have a long-term view as far as how we proactively support and implement measures moving forward. I think that it takes me back to my first point where I just mentioned, if our community members have concerns about criminal activity, about anything, we need to know. I know there are people who worry about like auto thefts. If you are worried about people driving around in your neighborhoods, call us so we can do our best to proactively respond to those types of situations. We are working hard to move from a reactionary to a much more proactive. The work that Mark and Ms. Ketcher are doing, as well as the work on our Community Safety and Operations Center. These are examples of those things. And while we're not going to get there overnight, those investments are where we're going with that. So with that, Mr. Chair, I open up the floor to any questions about any of those things that I just talked about.
Okay. Councillor Alt, I see your hand up.
Thank you, Chairman Sherry. Quick question to Chief Kobe through you. I don't want you to get into all of the details, but I heard with alarm the number of handguns that had been picked up so far this year with an average of over 1 per week. That to me is very concerning. I was wondering if we could have a breakdown possibly of the trend lines for violent crimes, crimes against a person, in comparison also to property at some time, because it strikes me that those handguns being picked up are, as much as anything else, are a meter for us to determine what the impact of crimes against the person are at this time as well.
Yeah, so we're probably a couple months away. So in the spring, the crime severity index numbers come out. And so if you recall, so that's basically violent crime, nonviolent, and then overall crime severity index. And what that index does, it's kind of a weighted average to like nonviolent versus violent to get a kind of a weighted average of the seriousness of offenses. We will definitely have that for you when that comes out. But you make a really good point in the sense that when we have illegal drugs, we often have other illegal activities involving weapons, handguns, human trafficking. These are things that often occur together. And I know we've been talking about this. We're not immune to the crime trends in the much larger urban centers around us. So, but we'll definitely get you those numbers, and they will be sourced from Stats Canada as well. Daryl, do you have anything to add there?
Well, just the CSOC is a great initiative that I envision utilizing our resources a little bit better to let our officers on the road be a little bit more time efficient and proactive.
And Steve, you got anything else to add in relation to that?
No, the only thing that I would add, Chief, is certainly, you referred to the last seizures that we had, the number of firearms, the type of firearms, and the amount of drugs. My concern when you're looking at that type of seizure is always the ties to organized crime, and we certainly do not want that in our community, and that makes me nervous.
Any other questions, Mr. Chair?
No, hearing none.
No. And then other than that, there really, obviously, I wanted to thank our community, everybody in our community, our student population. Obviously, we had St. Patrick's Day last weekend. It was overall, a plan was in place, and I think that it was responsibly managed and attended. And we just want to thank the community for the way last weekend went. I'm good for questions, Mr. Chair, if there's any more.
Okay, any questions from any members of the board? Hearing none. Okay, any more items, Chief Kobe? No. Okay, our next item is new business. Are there any items of new business from any members of the board? I'm hearing none. I'll declare that closed. Next item is due to the new Community Police Services Act and the requirements for training. Our next board meeting is going to actually be Thursday, May 16th at 2:30 via Teams and live streamed on YouTube. Next item is a motion to adjourn. Do I have a mover? Councillor Ault, seconder, Mayor Guthrie, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you, everybody.